Story 1. I never thought I'd be internet famous. Not in a million years. I'm just a small business owner trying to make ends meet in this crazy economy. My bridal boutique, which I'll just call the boutique since names aren't important, sits on a quaint corner of our town's historic district. It's not huge, but it's mine, every satin ribbon, every beaded bodice, every tulle skirt. I opened the boutique 5 years ago after working for a decade at one of those big chain bridal stores. You know, the ones fluorescent lighting that makes everyone look sickly, salespeople on commission who push brides into dresses they don't want, and a corporate policy manual thicker than a wedding cake catalog. I hated it, but I learned a lot about the industry, saved every penny, and eventually had enough to strike out on my own. My little shop specializes in curated, unique pieces. Some are designer, some are vintage that I've carefully restored, and a few are my own designs that I work on during the quiet hours. I've built a reputation for personalized service and finding the perfect dress for each bride's body type and personality. It's not a get-rich-quick business, but it's fulfilling, and I've managed to build a decent life from it. That Wednesday started like any other. I had just finished steaming a delicate lace gown for a final fitting later that afternoon when the bell above the door jingled. I looked up to see a woman who seemed vaguely familiar, though I couldn't place her. She was in her mid-20s, I'd guess, dressed impeccably in what I recognized as high-end designer clothes, oversized sunglasses perched on her head despite the cloudy day outside. She wasn't alone. A younger woman trailed behind her, clutching a professional-looking camera and what appeared to be a ring light. The second woman looked tired, her shoulders slightly hunched as if she'd been carrying that equipment for hours. "Me, welcome to the boutique. How can I help you today?" The well-dressed woman barely glanced at me. Instead, she walked slowly around the showroom, running her fingers over the dresses, occasionally pausing to look at a price tag before moving on with a small smirk. "Woman, so this is the place everyone's been talking about. I expected it to be bigger." There was something about her tone that immediately put me on edge, but I've dealt with all types in this business. Sometimes the most difficult clients end up being the most grateful once they find their dress. "Me, we focus on quality over quantity. Are you looking for something specific today? A wedding dress for yourself, perhaps?" The woman finally turned to look at me, as if just remembering I was there. "Woman, I'm getting married in 6 weeks. My wedding will have over 300 guests, including several celebrities. It's going to be featured in multiple magazines and across all my social media platforms." She paused, clearly expecting me to be impressed. When I simply nodded and waited for her to continue, she looked slightly annoyed. "Woman, I have over 2 million followers across my platforms. I'm an influencer." She said the word influencer, the way some people might say royalty or Nobel Prize winner. Her assistant, I assumed that's who the camera woman was, nodded enthusiastically. "Me, congratulations on your engagement and your social media success. Did you have an appointment today? I don't recall seeing one in the book." "Woman, I don't need appointments. Places like this are always happy to accommodate me because of the exposure I bring. I've been in business long enough to know where this was heading, but I decided to remain professional." "Me, I understand, but we typically work by appointment to ensure each bride gets our full attention. However, since you're here, I'd be happy to show you some options if you have a particular style or budget in mind." The woman waved her hand dismissively. "Woman, budget isn't an issue. Show me your best pieces." I led her to the section where I kept my most exclusive dresses, including a stunning Marchesa gown that had just arrived the previous week. It was a breathtaking piece with hand-embroidered flowers cascading down from a sweetheart neckline to a dramatic cathedral train. The price tag was just over $5,000, which was actually reasonable for a dress of that caliber. The moment she saw it, her eyes lit up. She snapped her fingers at her assistant. "Woman, get some shots of this one." The assistant immediately began setting up the ring light while the woman struck poses next to the dress, not touching it, just standing near it while making duck faces at the camera. I watched in disbelief as they conducted an impromptu photo shoot in my boutique without even asking permission. After about 5 minutes of this, the woman turned to me. "Woman, I'll take this one." Me, "Wonderful. It's a beautiful choice. Would you like to try it on to make sure it's the right fit before we discuss any alterations that might be needed?" Woman, "No need. I can tell it will be perfect." This was highly unusual. No bride commits to a dress, especially one at this price point, without trying it on first. But some people know exactly what they want, so I proceeded cautiously. Me, "All right then. For this dress, I'd require a 50% deposit today, with the remainder due when you pick it up after alterations. We'll need to schedule those fittings soon if your wedding is in just 6 weeks." The woman looked at me as if I'd just spoken in an alien language. Woman, "You don't understand. I'm not paying for the dress." Me, "I'm sorry." Woman, "I'm doing you a favor by wearing your dress and featuring it on my platforms. Do you know how much exposure that's worth? Way more than $5,000. Now it all made sense. I'd heard about this type of situation from other small business owners, but had never experienced it myself until now. Me, "I appreciate your interest in the dress and your offer to feature it, but we don't have an influencer collaboration program. All of our dresses are available for purchase only." Her face changed instantly, the polite veneer dropping away to reveal something harder underneath. Woman, "Are you serious right now? Do you have any idea who I am?" Me, "I'm afraid I don't, but..." Woman, "I have 2 million followers. People literally buy whatever I tell them to buy. You should be paying me to wear your dress." Her voice had risen to the point where I was concerned about my afternoon appointment, hearing this from the back room where she was waiting. I lowered my voice, hoping she would follow suit. Me, "I understand that you have a significant online presence, but this is how my business operates. I'd be happy to discuss a normal purchase of the dress, or perhaps we could look at some other options that might better fit your needs." Woman, "There are no other options. I want this dress, and I'm not paying for it. This is how collaborations work. Are you new to business or just stupid?" At this point, I decided it was time to end the interaction. I've worked too hard building my business to be spoken to this way in my own shop. Me, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm not interested in this type of arrangement. I'm going to have to ask you to leave now." The woman's face turned an alarming shade of red. Woman, "You can't be serious. Do you know how many brides I could send your way? I could make your pathetic little shop famous." Me, "My business is doing just fine without that kind of fame, thank you. Please leave." Woman, "Fine, but you'll regret this. I'll make sure everyone knows how terrible your customer service is." She started toward the door, her assistant scrambling to gather the equipment. I thought that would be the end of it, an unpleasant encounter, but nothing more. I was wrong. As she reached the display near the door, where I had arranged a collection of delicate vintage veils on antique mannequin heads, she turned back to look at me with pure spite in her eyes. Then, deliberately and with shocking force, she swiped her arm across the display, sending the mannequins crashing to the floor. One of them shattered, the porcelain pieces scattering across the hardwood. Woman, "Oops, looks like you need to be more careful with your displays." I stood frozen in shock. Some of those veils were irreplaceable 1920s Belgian lace that I'd spent months restoring. The mannequin that broke was an antique from the 1890s that had belonged to my grandmother. Before I could react, she kicked at the fallen items, sending a veil skidding across the floor, and then stalked out the door, her assistant hurrying after her with an apologetic glance back at me. For a moment, I just stood there, my heart pounding with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Then I remembered something that gave me a small spark of hope: the security cameras. When I first opened the boutique, I invested in a good security system with high-definition cameras. It seemed like an unnecessary expense at the time, but right now, I was immensely grateful for Pasmi's foresight. I went to the back room and quickly checked the footage. Sure enough, the entire encounter was captured in crystal clear quality, From her initial dismissive behavior to the final destructive tantrum. The audio was clear too, recording every entitled demand and threat. My afternoon appointment had witnessed the end of the confrontation from the fitting room where she'd been waiting. She emerged looking concerned. Client, are you okay? That woman seemed horrible. Me, I'm fine, just a bit shaken. I'm so sorry you had to see that. Client, don't apologize. It's not your fault some people think they're entitled to everything for free. Do you need help cleaning this up? Her kindness nearly brought me to tears after such an unpleasant encounter. Together, we carefully gathered the veils and the broken pieces of the mannequin. Fortunately, most of the veils were undamaged, though one had a tear that would take hours to repair. The mannequin was beyond saving. My client insisted on continuing with her final fitting despite the disruption, and seeing her joy when she put on her perfectly altered dress helped restore my mood somewhat. After she left, I sat down at my computer and debated what to do about the footage. I'm not someone who typically posts about negative experiences online. I prefer to focus on the positive aspects of my business and life in general. But something about this encounter, the deliberate destruction of property, the entitlement, the threats made me feel I should share it. I edited the video to blur out the woman's face despite my anger. I didn't want to expose her identity and posted it on my business's social media accounts with a simple caption. Today I learned that not all exposure is good exposure. To the 99% of my wonderful clients who respect small businesses, thank you. I didn't think much would come of it. Maybe a few sympathetic comments from regular customers, at most. I closed up shop, went home, had a glass of wine to calm my nerves, and went to bed early. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop with notifications. The video had gone viral overnight. It had been shared thousands of times, with comments pouring in from around the world. Most were supportive of me and critical of the influencer, with many small business owners sharing similar experiences. By midday, the local news had picked up the story. They called asking for an interview, which I politely declined, preferring to let the incident fade away. But it didn't fade. If anything, it grew bigger. That's when things took an unexpected turn. The woman who I now thought of simply as Karen apparently saw the video and recognized herself despite the blurring. She posted her own version of events on her accounts, claiming I had been rude to her from the moment she walked in and had refused to serve her because I was jealous of her success. Her version might have gained traction if not for one crucial mistake she made. In her rant, she mentioned knocking over the display, saying I had set it up to fall easily so I could blame her. This admission only confirmed what was visible in my video. Her followers began to question her version of events. Some found the boutique's social media pages and watched the video for themselves. The tide of public opinion turned decisively against her. 3 days after the incident, I received an unexpected visitor at the boutique. It was a woman about my age, well-dressed, but in a subtle, elegant way. Woman, are you the owner? Me? Yes, I am. How can I help you? Woman, I'm the owner of Blue Jasmine Bridal on the other side of town. I saw your video. My heart sank. Was I about to be criticized by a competitor for posting the footage? Me, I hope you understand why I felt it necessary to share that experience. To my surprise, she smiled warmly. Woman, absolutely. That's actually why I'm here. That same woman came into my shop yesterday, demanding the same thing, a free dress in exchange for exposure. I recognized her from your video, even with the face blurred. I turned her away immediately. Me, really? Woman, yes, and I wasn't the only one. I'm part of a local bridal shop owners group chat, and after I saw your video, I shared it with them. When she showed up at my store, I messaged the group. Turns out, she's been making the rounds to every bridal shop in town since your refusal, trying the same tactic. She handed me her phone, showing me the group chat. There were messages from at least 5 other boutique owners, all confirming they had also refused service to Karen after recognizing her from my video. Woman, none of us will serve her now. We're all small business owners just trying to make a living. We can't afford to give away thousands of dollars of merchandise for some vague promise of exposure. I felt a wave of gratitude and solidarity with this woman and the other shop owners who had taken a stand. Thank you for telling me this. It means a lot to know I'm not alone. Woman, not at all. In fact, we wanted to invite you to join our group. We share resources, warnings about difficult clients, and sometimes even refer customers to each other when we don't have what they're looking for. That afternoon, I joined the group chat and was warmly welcomed by the other bridal shop owners. What had started as one of the most unpleasant experiences of my professional life had somehow led to a supportive network of colleagues I hadn't even known I needed. As for Karen, the story doesn't end with her being refused service at every bridal shop in town. About a week after the incident, I received an email from her. The subject line was simply "apology." In the email, she explained that the backlash from the video had cost her several sponsorship deals. Brands she had worked with for years had cut ties with her after seeing how she treated small businesses. Her follower count had dropped dramatically as people unfollowed her in droves. She claimed to have realized the error of her ways and offered a sincere-sounding apology, along with an offer to pay for the damages to my antique mannequin and veils. I considered ignoring the email but eventually decided to respond. I accepted her apology and her offer to pay for damages, but declined her subsequent request to post about the positive resolution on my social media. Some lessons need to be learned privately. The check for the damages arrived 3 days later, along with a handwritten note that seemed genuinely remorseful. I'll never know if she truly changed her perspective or was simply doing damage control, but I chose to believe the former. It's easier to move forward without carrying the weight of cynicism. My video eventually faded from the viral spotlight, but its impact remained. The boutique saw an increase in customers, many mentioning they had found me through the video and appreciated a business owner who stood up for herself. The network of bridal shop owners became a valuable resource and support system. And most importantly, I gained a newfound confidence in setting boundaries and valuing my own work. In the end, the dress that started at all that beautiful Marchesa gown found its way to a bride who not only paid full price, but appreciated its artistry and craftsmanship. When she sent me photos from her wedding day, radiant in a dress that had almost been demanded for free, I felt a sense of satisfaction that no amount of social media exposure could ever provide. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from our most difficult encounters. And sometimes, just sometimes, entitled people actually face consequences for their actions. Story 2. I've been working at Sunshine Car Rentals for almost 5 years now. It wasn't my dream job when I started, but the pay was decent, my coworkers were nice, and most days were pretty chill. I started as a counter agent and worked my way up to assistant manager within 3 years. The job had its ups and downs, but I generally enjoyed helping people get where they needed to go. My parents always taught me the value of hard work. Dad worked in construction for 30 years, and Mom was a nurse. They weren't rich, but they provided for me and my 2 sisters. They put me through community college, where I got my business management degree. I was the first person in my family to graduate college, and even though I hadn't landed some fancy corporate job, I was proud of where I was. I had plans to move up to regional management eventually. Before the incident I'm about to tell you about, I dealt with my fair share of difficult customers. People who showed up without reservations during our busiest season and expected miracles. People who brought back cars with mysterious stains and damage, but swore they had no idea how it happened. People who tried to use expired credit cards or IDs. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened 3 months ago. It was a Tuesday afternoon in July, one of our busiest months. The office was packed, with a line stretching out the door. We were short-staffed because one of our newer agents had called in sick, and our computer system was running slower than usual due to a recent update. Everyone was stressed, but we were managing. I was helping a young couple who needed a minivan for their family vacation when I heard the doors slam open. I didn't look up immediately, focusing on finalizing the reservation, but I could feel the atmosphere in the room change. The couple I was helping exchanged nervous glances. When I finally looked up, I saw her. Middle-aged woman, designer sunglasses perched on her head, expensive-looking purse clutched in her manicured hand. Her face was already red, a sure sign that this wasn't going to be pleasant. She marched past the line of waiting customers, ignoring their protests, and slammed her hands down on the counter next to where I was working with the couple. "Me, ma'am, I'll be with you shortly. There's a line, and I'm currently helping these customers." She looked at me like I'd suggested she eat dirt. "Woman, do you know who I am? I don't wait in lines. I need a car right now." I smiled apologetically at the couple I was helping and asked them to bear with me for a moment. "Me, ma'am, everyone needs to wait their turn. I'll be happy to help you as soon as I'm finished with these customers." "Woman, this is ridiculous. I've been renting from this company for years. I'm a platinum member." "We didn't have a platinum membership program. We had a rewards program, but nothing called platinum." I'd learned over the years that when people start claiming special status that doesn't exist, you're in for a rough time. "Me, I understand, but I still need to finish with these customers first. My colleague can help you when it's your turn." I gestured to my coworker, who was helping another customer but would be free soon. The woman's face turned an even deeper shade of red. "Woman, no, I need help now. I reserved a mid-sized sedan online last night, and I need to pick it up." I sighed, knowing I wouldn't be able to finish with the couple until this situation was resolved. I apologized to them and asked if they could step aside for just a minute. They were gracious enough to agree, though they didn't look happy about it. "Me, let me check your reservation. What's the name it's under?" She told me her name, and I typed it into the system. There was no reservation. "Me, I'm sorry, but I don't see any reservation under that name for today or any upcoming dates." "Woman, that's impossible. I made it last night. Your system must be wrong." "Me, did you receive a confirmation email?" "Woman, I don't need to check my email. I've been renting from you people for years. I always get the same car for the same price. $39.99 per day for a midsize. Just give me that." I checked our current rates. Due to summer demand and rising costs, our midsize sedans were currently going for $59.99 per day. "Me, I'm sorry, but our current rate for midsize sedans is $59.99 per day. And without a reservation, I'll need to check if we even have any available." The woman's eyes widened like I just told her the sky was green. "Woman, $59.99. That's robbery. I've never paid more than $39.99. I want to speak to your manager right now." I took a deep breath. My actual manager was on lunch break, and as assistant manager, I was in charge. "Me, I am the manager on duty right now. I understand your frustration, but our prices have increased since the last time you rented with us. It's industry-wide due to increased costs and demand." "Woman, I don't care about the industry. I care about me and what I've always paid. I'm a loyal customer. I deserve a special discount." "Me, we appreciate your loyalty, but our rates are the same for everyone. If you have a discount code or a rewards number, I'd be happy to apply it." "Woman, I shouldn't need a code. Your company should recognize me. This is outrageous." By this point, everyone in the office was watching. The line of customers was getting restless, but most seemed to be on our side, shooting sympathetic glances at me and annoyed looks at the woman. "Me, ma'am, I can offer you our economy car for $49.99 if that works better for your budget. Or you're welcome to check with other rental companies." That was apparently the wrong thing to say. She slammed her purse down on the counter so hard that our little display of business cards went flying. "Woman, are you telling me to go somewhere else? After all the money I've spent with this company, how dare you?" She began rummaging through her purse, eventually pulling out a crumpled receipt. "Woman, look, this is what I paid 6 months ago. $39.99 per day. I want that rate. I glanced at the receipt. It was indeed from our company, dated January, during our off-season when rates were lower. Ma'am, that was during our winter rates. It's summer now, our peak season. Prices are higher. Woman, that's not my problem. I want my usual rate. At this point, my coworker had finished with his customer and approached, trying to help defuse the situation. Coworker, is everything okay over here? Before I could respond, the woman turned on him. Woman, no, everything is not okay. This person is trying to rip me off. My coworker looked at me questioningly. I gave him a brief explanation. She wants our winter rate in the middle of summer peak season. Coworker, I'm sorry, ma'am, but the rates do change seasonally. It's in our terms and conditions. Woman, I don't care about your terms and conditions. I'm a valued customer. The situation was getting out of hand. The line was growing, customers were getting impatient, and this woman showed no signs of backing down. Ma'am, I understand you're upset, but I have other customers waiting. I can offer you our current rate of $59.99 for the midsize, or $49.99 for the economy. Those are your options today. Her face contorted with rage. What happened next still feels surreal when I think about it. She swept her arm across the counter, knocking over the computer monitor, sending pens, forms, and brochures flying in all directions. Then she started screaming, not talking loudly, not yelling, but full-on screaming like someone was attacking her. Woman, you can't treat me like this. I'll have your job. I'll sue this whole company. I want my discount. I deserve special treatment. Everyone in the office froze. Even the children who had been running around playing stop to stare. My coworker immediately picked up the phone to call security, but I held up my hand to stop him. I had a better idea. Just then, my actual manager returned from lunch, walking into complete chaos. He took one look at the situation, the trashed counter, the screaming woman, the stunned customers, and made a beeline for us. Manager, what's going on here? Before I could explain, the woman launched into her tirade again, though slightly less hysterical now that a new authority figure had appeared. Woman, your employee is trying to rip me off. I always pay $39.99 for my rental, and now they're trying to charge me $59.99. I'm a loyal customer. I deserve better treatment. My manager looked at me questioningly. She's referring to our winter rates from January. I explained that prices are higher during summer peak season. My manager nodded, understanding the situation immediately. He turned to the woman with a professional smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Manager, ma'am, I apologize for the confusion. Let me see what I can do for you. He typed something into another computer, and the woman's demeanor changed instantly. She straightened up, smoothed her hair, and gave a smug look to everyone watching, as if to say, see? This is how you should be treated. Manager, I see you've been a customer before. Given the situation, I can offer you a special arrangement. The woman's face lit up with vindication. Woman, finally, someone who understands customer service. Manager, here's what I can do. I can rent you a mid-sized sedan today, but given your behavior and the damage to our property, I'll need a larger security deposit than usual. Either that, or I'll have to ask you to leave and not return to any of our locations. The woman's triumphant expression faltered. Woman, security deposit. What are you talking about? Manager, yes, either a $1,000 security deposit instead of our usual $250, or we won't be able to serve you today or in the future, and we'll need to document this incident. Woman, $1,000? That's absurd. Why would I need to pay that? Manager, well, you've just demonstrated that you're a high-risk customer by damaging our property. We need additional assurance that you'll return our vehicle in good condition. The woman looked around, suddenly aware that everyone was watching her, many with phones out, possibly recording. She lowered her voice but maintained her indignation. Woman, this is extortion. I want to speak to your supervisor. Manager, I'm the highest authority at this location. Those are your options. A mid-sized sedan at $59.99 per day with a $1,000 security deposit, or you can try another rental company. She fumed, opening and closing her mouth several times as she tried to formulate a response. Finally, realizing she was cornered, she pulled out her credit card. Woman, fine. But I'm filing a complaint with your corporate office. Manager, that's certainly your right. Now, how many days will you need the vehicle? Woman, 5 days. And I expect it to be in perfect condition. My manager nodded and began processing her paperwork, adding notes to her customer file that I could see from my position. The notes detailed her behavior and the special conditions of her rental. After she paid, grumbling the entire time about the deposit, my coworker went to prepare her car. When he returned with the keys, my manager handed them to her with the rental agreement. Manager, everything is detailed in this agreement, including the condition of the car upon pickup and the expectations upon return. Please read it carefully and sign where indicated. She snatched the papers, scribbled her signature without reading, and grabbed the keys. Woman, this is the last time I ever rent from this company. Manager, I understand. Have a nice day. As she stormed out, the office erupted in scattered applause. My manager held up his hands modestly and helped me clean up the mess she'd made. Manager, you handled that well. Sorry you had to deal with it. Me, thanks for backing me up. Do you think she'll complain to corporate? Manager, probably. But we have witnesses, and I'm sure someone got it on video. Plus, I've already sent an email to regional about the incident. 5 days later, she returned. I wasn't at the counter when she came in, but I was in the back office and could hear everything. She was acting completely different, sweet as pie, like nothing had happened. Woman, I'm returning my rental. Everything went perfectly. I'd like my deposit back now. My coworker, who had been there during her meltdown, took her keys and went to inspect the vehicle with another agent. They returned looking grim. Coworker, ma'am, there are several issues with the vehicle. There's a large scratch on the passenger side. The interior has multiple stains, and it appears someone was smoking in the car, which is against our policy. Woman, what? That's ridiculous. The car was like that when I got it. Coworker, we have photos from when you picked up the car, as well as your signed agreement confirming its condition. These damages are new. Woman, I want to speak to the manager. You people are trying to scam me. My manager, hearing the commotion, came out from his office. Manager, what seems to be the problem? The woman launched into her defense, claiming the car was already damaged when she received it. My manager listened patiently, then asked to see the inspection photos. After reviewing them alongside new photos of the returned vehicle, he turned to her. Manager, the evidence is clear. These damages weren't present when you took possession of the vehicle. We'll need to charge your card for the repairs and cleaning. Woman, how much? Manager, the estimate comes to $750. Woman, $750? That's ridiculous. I'm not paying that. Manager, I'm afraid the charges are outlined in your rental agreement, which you signed. We can process it now, or we can add it to your credit card on file. Woman, this is highway robbery. I'm disputing this charge with my credit card company. Manager, you're welcome to try, but we have documentation of the damages, your signed agreement, and video of your behavior when you picked up the car. I'm confident the charge will stand. The woman seemed to deflate as she realized she was out of options. Woman, just give me back the rest of my deposit and I'm never coming back here. Manager, of course. After deducting the damage costs, we'll be returning $250 to your card. It should process in 3-5 business days. Woman, only $250. This is a scam. Manager, no, ma'am. This is the consequence of your actions. Have a nice day. She left, threatening lawsuits and bad reviews, but we never heard from her again. My manager later told me that he'd also added a note to her file that would pop up if she ever tried to rent from any location in our chain. A week later, I got called into the regional director's office. I was nervous, thinking the woman had somehow made good on her threats to complain. Instead, the regional director commended me for my professionalism during the incident. Apparently, a customer in line had indeed recorded the whole thing and sent it to corporate as evidence of how well we handled a difficult situation. The regional director said it would be used in training videos as an example of maintaining composure under pressure. 2 months after that, I got promoted to full manager when my boss moved to a regional position. He recommended me personally, citing the incident as evidence of my ability to handle high-stress situations. Sometimes I wonder if that woman ever realized how her entitled behavior actually ended up helping my career. Probably not. People like that rarely see beyond their own immediate wants and needs. But every time I train a new employee, I tell them this story as a reminder that sometimes the most difficult customers teach us the most valuable lessons, and sometimes justice gets served in unexpected ways. Story 3. I'm a single dad to an amazing 8-year-old boy. His mom left when he was 3, claiming parenthood wasn't her thing. Since then, it's been just us against the world. One tradition we've kept is making birthdays special. This year, my son was obsessed with dinosaurs, specifically a blue velociraptor from those dinosaur movies. He wanted a cake shaped exactly like it. After searching everywhere, I found a small bakery called Sweet Creations that could make the custom cake. It cost nearly $200, which was a lot for my budget, but my son's excitement made it worth it. I ordered it 3 weeks in advance with a $100 deposit and scheduled pickup for 2 p.m. Saturday, the day before his party. When I arrived at the bakery, there were several people waiting in line. I patiently waited my turn, scrolling through my phone. That's when she walked in, a woman in her 40s with that distinct, speak-to-the-manager haircut, designer sunglasses, and an expensive handbag. She immediately bypassed the entire line and went straight to the counter. Excuse me, there's a line. She glanced back dismissively. Woman, I'm just here for a quick pickup. It'll only take a second. The young employee looked uncomfortable. Employee, I'm sorry, ma'am, but we have other customers waiting. If you could please. Woman, I said, I'm just here for a pickup. I don't have time to wait with these people. I have an important event to get to. The owner approached the counter to handle the situation. Owner, how can I help you? Woman, finally, I'm here to pick up a cake. The dinosaur one? The blue one? My ears perked up immediately. That was my cake. Owner, oh, the velociraptor cake? That one is for another customer who should be arriving soon. Woman, well, I'm here now, and I need a dinosaur cake. My son's birthday party is in 2 hours. I stepped forward. Excuse me, but that's my cake. I ordered it 3 weeks ago for my son's birthday. Woman, well, I need it more than you do. My son's party is today, and I forgot to order a cake. Your party is probably tomorrow, so you have time to find another one. That's not how this works. I ordered this specifically for my son. It's custom made, and I've already paid for it. Woman, look, I'll pay for it right now. Full price. Problem solved. She pulled out a credit card and waved it around. Owner, I'm sorry, ma'am, but as I explained, this cake was specially ordered by this gentleman. We can't sell it to you. Woman, do you know who I am? My husband is a lawyer. We spend thousands at businesses in this area. The owner stood her ground and went to check on the cake. She returned with a magnificent blue velociraptor cake, exactly what I had ordered. Owner, sir, this is your cake, correct? Yes, that's the one I ordered for my son's birthday. Before anyone could react, the woman grabbed the cake box. Woman, well, I'm taking it. I'm here, I have cash, and my son needs a cake today. I put my hand on the box to stop her. Please don't do this. This is my son's birthday cake. Woman, let go. What happened next seemed to occur in slow motion. She suddenly pulled back with force. When I didn't release my grip, she gave the box a violent shove downward. The cake tumbled out and landed with a sickening splat on the bakery floor. 3 weeks of planning and my son's birthday surprise ruined in an instant. Woman, look what you made me do. If you had just let me have the cake, this wouldn't have happened. That's when the young employee snapped. She knelt down, scooped up a handful of blue frosting from the floor, and smeared it right across the woman's face. Employee, there's your cake, ma'am. The woman stood shocked, blue frosting dripping down her face. Woman, how dare you? I'm calling the police. Owner, I've already called them. I'd like to report destruction of property. The police arrived quickly and reviewed the security footage. They informed the woman she would be charged with destruction of property and causing a public disturbance. As I was leaving, feeling defeated, the owner approached me. Owner, give me your number. I'll handle this personally. The next morning, she called to say she'd been up all night remaking the cake. When I arrived at the bakery, there was an even more impressive blue velociraptor cake waiting. The owner refused payment and even included extra dinosaur cookies. My son's reaction was worth all the drama, pure joy and excitement. As for the entitled woman, the incident went viral online. She faced not only legal consequences but public shame. Her husband's law firm wasn't happy about the association either. The bakery received so much support from the community that they had to hire additional staff. Sometimes entitled behavior does come back to bite you, or in this case, smear blue frosting all over your face.